For a while there has been some debate as to whether gameplay or story is more important in a video game. Both arguments have merit, but no matter which way you swing it, story is pretty damn important and can carry a game to fame. And it's these games we're going to be discussing in this video. First up isn't a single game, but two games made by the same studio called Freebird Games. The first game is called To the Moon, and it's an 8-bit RPG looking game with basic walk, stop, interact mechanics and a soundtrack that, forever afterwards, will have you riddling with nostalgia. Filled with atmosphere and immersion, this game is my personal favourite story-based game, and is one of those games that leaves you with your head in your hands afterwards, thinking about everything that happened, and is a masterpiece of storytelling with its entirely original plot, which, surprisingly, I don't say sarcastically as I usually do. The next game by Freebird has been dubbed To the Moon's spiritual successor, and apparently ties in with its plot, or at least is based in the same universe. This game is called A Bird Story. This is a game I consider to be a special treat, short, sweet, and to the point. It's about a bird, no surprises there, and a boy, but that's all I'll say story-wise to avoid potential spoilers. As the game in this list are ones I'm trying to convince you, the listener, to go out and experience for yourself. My favourite part about this game is probably the way it can compel a very basic plot, while still managing to keep you enthralled and intrigued, all without breathing a single word. That's right, not a single word, which served only to enhance the experience. Another one of these speechless games that, ironically, leave you speechless, is Brother, A Tale of Two Sons, a multi-character control game, and when I say multi-character controlled, I mean that you control two brothers simultaneously, and they immediately fall into the typical oldest and youngest roles, and during their adventures you can relate to and recognize the bonding and fighting of an average set of brothers. The youngest one is small and can get to hard to reach places, and the older one can move heavy things. Whether you can still enjoy this game if you can't relate, I wouldn't know, but it is still worth mentioning. Just to shake things up, I'm going to mention a game I'm willing to bet a few of you weren't expecting. With amazing and in-depth mechanics, this game is, to the unseeing eye, a game entirely dependent on its gameplay, but oh how they were wrong. If you haven't guessed already, this game is Dark Souls, and the best way to show you how good the seemingly non-existent story is to leave the job to someone better than me, called Vadi Vidya. And oh my god, it's good. Now at this point you're probably wondering, but where are the shooters, oh wonderful internet man? Well, since you asked, so politely, I guess I can fit one in by the name of Spec Ops: The Line, a gritty third-person shooter that starts off in the most generic way possible, shooting towel-hatted gentlemen in a flying helicopter of death with big guns. But eventually it shreds its Morocco cloak, and gets into the gritty realities of war, and the effects of it on the human psyche. While we're talking about shooters, this is one of the AAA examples of how a game can be carried by story, and that game is Bioshock Infinite. In theory, the shooting mechanics of Bioshock Infinite should be fun as hell. Magic in one hand and a gun in the other seems like a perfect combo. But sadly, the shooting leans more to the boring side, and you switch your focus to the story, and boy is it good. Traveling between alternate dimensions is inherently a mindfuck, and Bioshock handles it very well. And considering the game is one big escort mission, I was surprised when I actually enjoyed my time spent with Ellie, my dimension-traveling companion. And what better way to go out on than time traveling with hot women? So I'm going to wrap this up by mentioning that there are obviously a lot more story-based games out there. I didn't even get into the Telltale games. I know it's tragic, but these are only the ones I've played, or just the ones that came to mind or stuck with me well after I played them. And thank God for games.